Hey guys, Nick Espinosa, your Chief Security Fanatic here, and it's Sunday, so it is once again Breaches of the Week. And we are actually going to be starting with the breach that has been in the news for the entire week, and some of you guys have alerted me to this, and thank you for that. I'm always interested in what you guys have to say and how I can incorporate it into my show. But that is not why we are here. We are going to be talking about what some people are calling the mother of all breaches. Now, I have heard reports from 770 million to about 790 million or so, basically breaches out there in terms of records. So about that many email addresses, an additional 21 million passwords have been found sitting in the dark web. Now, they're calling it Collection 1. Now, this data breach isn't really a data breach, but it's a breach, and let me explain. So, what researchers have found, and the person that discovered this is actually Troy Hunt of Have I Been Pwned, a well-known player in dark web analysis and cybersecurity. He basically found online in one of the forums a sale of a whole bunch of different smaller data breaches that have been aggregated together and given as a list. So if I, as let's say I'm a malicious hacker, want to go buy a username and password list, here we go. And we've seen these before of hundreds of millions of email addresses, passwords, all aggregated from previous breaches. Now, some of this information might be from brand new breaches that we are uncovering. Some of this might be from older breaches that have been recycled in the dark web. And so what we are looking at with Collection 1 is a collection of data breaches that have been aggregated together, basically, let's say in a database, and is being offered for sale to malicious people. So that is what it is. Now, what the interesting part about this is that we expect more collections to be coming out. These things are constantly happening all the time. And so we actually have our own aggregated collection of breaches and stuff, for example, when we monitor the dark web for our clients. So ideally, we're going to get our hands on this, add it to our database, and now if any of our clients are listed in there, we get dinged. So these things happen all the time, and we are always looking out for more of these. And so this is nonstop, and Collection 2 through infinity will be out probably sooner than later. But that is what's going on with the mother of all breaches. About 770, 790 or so million email addresses, 20 to 25 million usernames and passwords, and more are coming. So we'll see where that goes. And obviously, I'll keep you up to date here on Breaches of the Week. And now we can focus on the Breaches of the Week. Now, the first one's going to start us in Philippines. Now, there's a company called Cebuana Luilier, and I'm so sorry, I do not speak Tagalog. I do not understand if I'm pronouncing that wrong. They are a financial service provider that has just disclosed that 900,000 of their clients have been accessed without authorization, and that they've already alerted authorities to begin an investigation. Now, I quote from this organization, "It's just a very small portion of our clientele. The main server containing all clients of Cebuana Luilier remains protected and uncompromised." So we'll see where this goes. I'm obviously not really that familiar with Philippine law, when it comes to their data protections and all that. But if you are a member or a client of this particular organization, heads up. The next data breach we're going to be talking about actually keeps us in the Philippines. Now, the Foreign Secretary of the Philippines basically put out on Twitter, and I guess he's getting a lot of flack from it, from the articles I've read. And when I go looking for data breaches of the world, I go looking worldwide. And so the articles that I'm reading on this oftentimes are in a Philippine native language called Tagalog that I need to translate into English. So please bear with me here, but obviously this is a big deal, for the Philippines. They are disclosing that alarming information from the Department of Foreign Affairs has been dumped. Basically, personal data has been dumped, and this includes millions of passports for Filipino citizens. So that is a serious problem, and if you are a Filipino citizen, wherever you are, and you have a passport, you might want to check in with your government. Moving on, we're actually going to be talking about in Oklahoma. Now, they have something called the Department of Securities. This is SEC compliant for brokers and traders and all of that. 3 terabytes and millions of files could basically have been accessed by anyone because they were publicly exposed and not properly secured on a website. Now, the information that this included was names of AIDS patients, which obviously is an incredibly sensitive thing, details about FBI investigations, and personally identifiable information for at least 100,000 finance brokers going back for 3 decades. That's actually a very deep and damaging breach that just happened in Oklahoma. And so if you are listening to this or watching this in Oklahoma, you might want to check that out because that's obviously a very serious issue. Moving on, we're going to be talking about the state of California. There's a company there called VoIPO. Now, VoIPO, which does voice over IP and all this kind of stuff like text messaging, they were breached, and it is 7 million phone call logs and 6 million text messages that were basically publicly available. Now, the server has been exposed since June of 2018, and the researchers that were looking into this found that it had a backlog of information stretching all the way back to May of 2015. And so if you're using VoIPO, heads up on that. You might want to give them a call or a message or whatever, because your personal call logs and text messages might be sitting out there in the dark web. Moving on, we're going to be talking about Minnesota. Now, Minnesota, their legislative auditor, Jim Noble, said this past Thursday that he had to issue a subpoena to the Minnesota Department of Public Safety to gain information about a possible data breach. We have no other information on that. I looked. And so if you are in Minnesota, your Department of Public Safety might have had a data breach that we don't necessarily know about, and another wing of your government is actually issuing subpoenas to that wing of the government to actually disclose information on that. So we will see what goes on with that. Next, we're going to be moving on to the European Union. Now, this is interesting because this involves Netflix, YouTube, Amazon, Apple, and Spotify. And basically, what the European Union is saying is that they are in breach of the new GDPR. This is their new General Data Protection Regulation for privacy that EU citizens have. And they are saying that pretty much, 5 of the top 10 websites or streaming services out there may be in violation of this. And I quote, the Austrian privacy campaign group None of Your Business asked the country's data regulator to investigate the firms for violating GDPR. The group said the companies fail to provide basic information such as how they buy and sell user data when contacted by 10 private citizens with requests for personal information. So that is obviously a serious problem. Moving on, we're going to be talking about Vermont. Now, Reliant Rehabilitation, obviously a rehabilitation center, put out that they suffered a phishing attack that hit employee emails in September of 2008. This was confirmed on December 17th, and that might have included date of birth and social security numbers for a lot of their patients and employees. I don't know the sides of this, but if you're in Vermont and you use Reliant Rehabilitation, heads up. And finally, a quick update on Marriott. Basically, a 50-state class action lawsuit was just launched by a law firm called Kramer and Graham, and also they have combined their efforts with other class action lawsuit firms to go after Marriott for their data breach. So again, if you are a Marriott customer or you stay there quite a lot, you might be able to get some of that sweet class action stuff, which means you'll probably get $100 and the lawyers will get like $200 billion. So that's typically how that works. No offense to lawyers. It's a pretty good gig if you can get it. And those are your data breaches of the week. Were you affected? Let me know. And please like, share, follow me here on Facebook and Twitter at NickAESP, or you can check me out on SoundCloud and listen to this here, /NickAESP, and YouTube /Nick Espinoza. And as always, stay safe and stay online. Thanks, guys.